Let's get started. Welcome to Engaging Remote Employees. This virtual presentation is designed to give you some tips that you can use right away. Hi, I'm Ken Okel. I'm a professional speaker who is spending more and more time in the virtual world. We're going to go through some of the points today, and at the very end, you'll have an opportunity to download a little infographic I made up, a cheat sheet that can help you remember some of the key concepts. To get started, first, we're going to have one slide with a lot of bullet points. This is all about research that was done because we are all working in a remote world now. Wasn't the case not that long ago, and there were some concerns that emerged. I'm referring to the 2019 State of the Digital Workforce Report. It was a survey, 2,000 people, and these people worked at larger companies with more than 250 employees. Here's what they found. Nearly 70% of remote workers encountered challenges not found in the office. And remote employees missed out on information, were excluded from meetings, and struggled to access important documents. So this was 2019, which I have to admit feels like a long time ago. We're all remote employees. So we want to make sure that people are able to stay productive, have a good performance level, make sure that we're not putting up barriers simply because people are working remotely. I realize it's kind of stressful having to adjust to new things. So I put up a little picture of a kitten and the word relax. So hopefully take a deep breath, release, and let's get started on some empowering tips. First one. When you are communicating with people virtually, kind of like how I'm doing right now, you want to make sure that they are engaged. You don't want them to fall into a passive listening mode where they're just kind of there, but they're not engaged like they would be if they were sitting with you in a meeting where they would be offering suggestions. They'd be picking up visual and verbal cues from you when you're in that meeting. When you're just remote, sometimes it becomes a sermon. You talk a lot as a leader, and then you ask people questions that are more like yes or no questions. You really want to ask specific questions to people where you're saying, Bob, what do you think about this concept? Francis, do you think this would work in your department? Tell me why. You really want to try to draw it out, almost like you're a news reporter. You're asking questions that are designed to get an answer, not just confirm your opinion. It may be great if you're right all the time and right on the money, but you want to make sure that you have good discussions with people, that you utilize their knowledge and their experience. So really try to make sure when you're virtually dealing with people, engage them. Also, don't want to fight technology. Make sure if people are having to use new technology, whether it's some sort of meeting platform, sharing documents, give them a chance to be trained on it and have an opportunity to practice with it. Invariably, if you learn something really quick and then have to use it suddenly for a very important function, meeting, something like that, something will go wrong. Give people the opportunity to get a few minutes, a few hours under their belt with the technology so that they feel comfortable. It's like second nature. It's like when you take your car in to get it serviced and maybe it has to stay there overnight and you get a loaner car. And the car is a car, but it's just a little different than what you're used to, and it just takes a little while to get comfortable. Even though the car is perfectly good, you're not used to it. So give yourself, your people at your job, a chance to get used to new technology before they're expected to perform with it. That will reduce a lot of stress. You may have noticed that it can be hard to communicate to a webcam. It just feels unnatural. You may not always know where to look, how to talk, how to react to it. You may feel kind of stiff. Here's a couple suggestions that you might want to try to do. Near the webcam, as long as it doesn't block the microphone or the camera, some people will put a little colored dot up there so that they know where to look. They've got the eye line defined. They're talking to something rather than just a random field of vision. Another thing people might do, this especially works if you have like a small little wallet-sized photo, or you could print up one. Put up near the camera a picture of a family member, your dog, your cat, your favorite sports team. Put some little image up there that you're speaking to. So it doesn't just feel like you're speaking to a camera. It's more like you're communicating with a friend, a colleague, talking about your favorite sports team. It makes you a little more relaxed. For some, you may not be able to put the image on the computer, but perhaps just over the computer. Like for instance, for me, right behind the computer is a wall. So you could always put an image up there as well. Gives you the sight lines and gives you a little more of a connection with an actual person rather than you're not sure if you're talking to anybody. Give that one a try as well. Can really help with your engagement as a remote employee. As a leader, you want to set expectations for remote employees. You want people to understand what you expect from them. So if you have an important meeting that is going to start at 10 a.m., you need to make sure that everyone is there at 10 a.m., not 10:05, not 10:15. 10 a.m., they're there, they're prepared, they're ready to go. You set the expectations for what you want. I realize that sometimes there are going to be technical issues. That's why you give people an opportunity to practice with things beforehand. And I do realize that for some people who are working from home with kids, issues can come up. So you do want to have some flexibility, but really try to communicate the expectations for what you want. You may not always reach them, but I think it's very important to define them so that people realize, like a regular meeting, you don't walk into there 10 minutes late unless you got a really good reason. Same thing should apply for remote working. Set the expectations with your team. Also, when there are major meetings, there are a lot of items to discuss. Usually there are, materials that people have to read, that they have to review. Give people time to learn. Don't expect them to be in a remote meeting and have to download a bunch of documents and look at them and review them and make an intelligent decision. That really stacks the odds against them. It makes them very hard to be involved in the meeting, or they'll be reading so much material, they won't be hearing the discussion. Make sure discussion materials are given out ahead of time so people are able to download them, look at them, review them, write down any questions beforehand. A prepared discussion will yield much better results. This gets back to the expectations too. If you're going to get the materials out to people a couple days early, you need to make sure you say, and I'm expecting you to understand this material and be able to discuss it. Keep in mind, I'm not talking about an info dump like we see all these binders on the side. A lot of information is good, but if there is a way to make sure you are narrowing it down, letting people know, these are really the things that we're going to be talking about. Give people some background. Maybe they have an opportunity to get more. Executive summaries sometimes are really helpful. Someone can just read a page, pretty much know everything that they need to know for the discussion. They don't have to read everything, but if they wanted to, they could. Here's the infographic that I was talking about earlier. What I'm going to do is in the chat box right now, I'm going to write in the URL where you can download it right away. I have it up on my Google Drive. For those of you who are watching the video replay later on YouTube, go to the description and I will put the link in there as well. And of course, you can also go to my website on the blog. I have a section about productivity videos. This presentation will be there. I will put the download link there as well. So several different ways you can get this little cheat sheet that I made up. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it could be helpful to have so you can refer to it every once in a while. Make sure that you're staying on course, you haven't picked up any bad habits, and you are engaging all of your remote employees. If you want to find out more about me, my name is Ken Okel. Go to my website. That's a good place to start, kenokel.com, KENOKEL.com. My email is tvguy@kenokel.com. Why is it that? Well, years ago, I worked in TV news. And when you go out in the public, let's say to a restaurant, a grocery store, people would recognize you from being on the air. They'd want to say hello, but they wouldn't remember your name. So they would just yell out, "Hey, TV guy." When I had to set up my email, I remembered that whole situation. Thought I'd use it there. And of course, I welcome you as well to connect with me on LinkedIn. I like growing my network with like-minded professionals. Feel free to reach out to me and maybe even mention that you first came across me in this presentation. Hope these tips will help you engage better with your remote employees. I'm Ken Okel. Take care.